be able to get it back off, but technically you couldn't cook it.
Oh, lava.
So guys, I mentioned to you how we have two types of lava. So we have the really sharp, jumbly stuff. We also have Pohoihoi. Now, Pohoihoi gets its name because it's very flat, slabby, almost gooey looking stuff, and it creates these almost what appear to be ripples. Now, the Hawaiians had a word for when they put a paddle in the water and they moved it. Those ripples that formed in front of it were called Pohoihoi. So they said, hey, let's name it that. It looks like it. Now, Pohoihoi, when it's erupting out of the volcanoes and it comes down like that, the surface forms a crust, like a shell. Now, if you think about like a creme brulee, you take it, a spoon, and you crack the surface, it creates these jumbly pieces. Well, if you were to move that all to one side and kind of mash up against itself, becoming even sharper and more jagged. But the Pohoihoi lava, underneath it stays moving, so that's what happens. The shell keeps moving up against itself, creating the really jagged, sharp lava, which then becomes aha. Now guys, take a look down to the right-hand side in front of those windmills. See that big cliff there? Now, that didn't used to be there. Actually, about 45,000 years ago, that was a rolling slope down towards the ocean. Now, when these volcanoes erupt, there's nowhere for the lava to go except on top of it itself. So it will stack and stack and stack. But like I was saying earlier, lava rock is incredibly weak. It cannot withstand a lot of weight. So eventually it will simply collapse. Very much like the way a glacier will calve. It cannot support itself anymore. And that's what happened down there 45,000 years ago. Now that happened to the entire island of Molokai. So in between Maui and Oahu, there is an island called Molokai. And thousands of years ago, half of it just sheared off into the ocean and left behind these huge 2,000-foot cliffs. That is known as a mass wasting event. Now down at South Point, there's another phenomenon that happens. The green sand beach. And it is truly that. It is literally a beach that appears to be green. Now that's formed from an eruption. So 39,000 years ago, Mauna Loa was erupting. And this was a particularly deep eruption. Now, all the volcanoes we have on the island are shield volcanoes. So that means that they don't always erupt on the summit. Sometimes, spontaneously, a fissure, a crack will open up way down the sides of the flanks of the volcanoes. And out of that, you'll get a fountain of lava coming out. Now, as that lava fountains out, it cools, and it starts to stack and stack, eventually forming what appears to be a cone. That becomes known as a cinder cone. So all these bumps that you see around the island, and we'll see around the island today, were pretty much scars of past eruptions. At some point, lava was fountaining out of it. Now this green sand beach, 39,000 years ago, there was an eruption out of one of those cinder cones. And because it was such a deep eruption, it was bringing up a mineral called olivine. Now at different levels inside the magma chambers in the volcanoes where all the magma is stored are different minerals. So it pumped up that olivine mineral. When it came to the surface, it crystallized. But because that cinder cone is right down by the ocean would wash out the much lighter weight lava rock and leave behind the much denser olivine crystals, creating the green sand beach. Now that happens to this day still because that cinder cone is still standing. And the ocean will break the side of it, pulling out all the olivine crystals. That's one of only 4 in the world. There's another one in Guam, Norway, and the Galapagos. Guys, down here on the right, that is the road that will take you down to the southern tip, South Point. And that is also the road that will take you to the green sand beach. You follow it all the way down and to the left. But now you do get to a parking lot at the end, at which point you need to switch to a 4-wheel drive, or you can hike in, though you are completely exposed in the sun, there's no shade. Or you can get, I say very generously the word, a shuttle which is really standing in the back of a pickup truck. Because a few locals have set up a kind of a side business down there. Well, they'll drive you in, $20. They'll take you down to the green sand beach, stand in the back of the pickup truck, and they'll charge you $100 to get back. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's a pretty fun experience. But it's pretty cool because you can go down there and you can stand on top of that very cinder cone that's pumping out the green sand. But now this isn't a beach that you would really want to go down to with like an umbrella and a lounge chair and such, because you get pummeled by the wind. Very windy spot. It's a pretty cool spot.
This is so cool.
Do they have a lot of bees here or anything? Anything like that?
Honey, yeah. Yeah, honey is really big here. Yeah, beekeeping is actually pretty big all along the Kona coffee belt. A lot of those, there are kind of micro farms off of it, and they'll do a lot of beekeeping there.
Remember we did see a beekeeping excursion? We said, fuck that.
Yeah.
There's horses.
Yeah. You do see it. I actually got some the other day. It was a coffee blended honey.
Oh, wow.
And they'll use macadamia nuts as well in the honey quite a lot. Actually, I think at the winery today, you guys will taste a mead, which is a honey. I can't remember which way around it is. It's been ages since I've had it. But I want to say it's a honey flavored mead, but it gets the taste from the macadamia nuts. Something of this capacity. The sommelier will tell you more about it when you guys are there. But yeah, some interesting tasting creations based around the honey here. Now the local fishermen that live around here, they've actually figured out how to use the wind around this area to their advantage. So they'll go fishing down at South Point and they'll sit on top of that area where that mass wasting event happened. And what they'll do is they'll cast their lines out to sea, but they'll tie a bag to that line. Now it gets really deep pretty fast there because of that mass wasting event. So the wind will, when they cast it out, the lines out to sea, will pick up in that bag and it will carry the line hundreds of feet from shore. And because it gets deep so fast there, you get some of the bigger species moving in. So they can literally sit on their lawn chair from shore and reel in things like tuna and marlin and such. And then they'll bring it into the base of the cliff lines. And at the base of the cliff lines, there's another kind of boat on standby, just a little thing. And that will help kind of gaff the fish. And then they bring it up on a winch over the cliffs. And then they'll usually fillet it, or sometimes not, depending on what the fish is. Throw it on ice, and they'll take it out to junctions around Kona, like traffic junctions. One of the best places to get fresh fish, if not the best. If you guys ever see, if you're driving around Kona or even in the north in Waikoloa, and you see colorful poster boards that say like Ono or Ahi or such like that, that's the freshest fish you can find on the island. It's literally been caught within a few hours. But they sell out very fast. That's your market for fish. And guys, the area we're driving through here is called Ka'u. And Ka'u, I was talking to a couple of people about it earlier at breakfast, I think. It's Kona Coffee's biggest rival. Very up and coming coffee, still very, very kind of niche, but it has won a lot of awards and slightly less bitter than Kona coffee. Now all of this area around here used to be sugar cane, because Ka'u sugar was one of the first sugar plantations on the island. Now most of it now is used for cattle ranching or horse grazing, such like that, or coffee. mistaken, they were worried about in the attack of Pearl Harbor that was going to get bombed. Is that right? Something about that? Yeah, there's not much of that in the way of that on this island. Thermal energy, there used to be until the recent lava flow buried it, the plant. But yeah, Honolulu, I think I remember that being a potential threat for